Hi, Ed.
Hi Mario, how are you?
All right, except really listening to the news and hearing it goes crazy.
Yeah,
Now
it's
the Russians are attacking Poland, it looks.
I heard that. I just saw that on the news.
It's not a
So I
mistake.
went,
I don't think it's a
yeah,
mistake.
like what?
I don't think there's a mistake.
I don't know. Who knows what they're doing?
I mean,
But the mood.
a
I'm in Israel
drone
right now,
crashed,
and
a drone
what?
crashed in Poland, but now they're attacking eastern Poland with jets.
Hmm. World's gone mad.
Michigan Welt.
That's for sure. Where are we on a test?
Hey.
Right?
Mhm. You're here or somewhere else?
I'm in Israel.
You're in Israel.
Yeah,
Oh,
I arrived when this whole thing started. Unbelievable.
what thing?
This thing in remote.
Oh.
Hi, Mario.
Hi, Walter.
I
How are you?
Walter.
Hello. How are you?
Everything's good.
Good, Abe. Nice to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Mario, was machst du?
Who's zich ken?
Wenn ihr, wenn ihr kennt. Was ich kennt. Wenn ihr kennt. That's what you put shit up.
I think
Okay,
the
I had
people
to
who,
catch up 5 Daf of Gemara today. What?
the people who want to go to, where do they go in Rosh Hashanah in Ukraine?
Where?
You know, when they go to Rosh Hashanah, all the from guys go to a place in Ukraine.
Yeah.
I think this year they can't. Now there's a little bit of a war between Russia and Poland.
Yeah, but I think what's going on is Israel said they're gonna send guards for them or something. I don't know.
Israel said what?
Oh, reports Russian drones over Poland. They were starting a world war then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the
It's
cute
not
thing is,
time of
is
Mashiach's coming.
Israel published a photo of a meeting of the Iranian cabinet, and it says, "Is this the last photo?" That's the type of public relations we need. Smart.
Hello, Johnny.
Hey.
Johnny, you didn't send me Helene's name, please, in Hebrew.
Oh. Okay. Will do.
Okay. Oh,
Yes, Mario.
the boss is here.
Oh, Jorge.
Buenas noches. Good night, everybody.
Oh,
Good
what
night,
a nice
Jorge.
seaboard.
Okay,
Have a
so
meeting about.
we're on Ches 8 Amud Aleph. So Shavin Shein Mevi Asham Toli. We said that the Kohen Gadol also doesn't bring an Asham Toli. Minalon Dichsiv. When the parsha by Asham Toli is when you have two pieces of fat in front of a person. One is chaylev, one is permitted fat. And you eat one of them, but you don't know which one you ate. So it's a suffix whether you ate chaylev, where you would normally bring a korban chatas. Korban chatas is when you have a piece of fat You don't know what it is, you eat it. And someone comes and tells you, you know what, the piece of fat you just ate was a piece of chalif, so you ate it b'shogeg. So whenever you do something that if you did it b'mezid, you would get kares. If you do it b'shogeg, you bring a korban chatas. But in the case we have two pieces of fat, and you eat one of them, and you don't know, somebody tells you, you know, one of those pieces was chalif. But we don't know which one you ate. Maybe he ate the chalif, maybe he didn't. That's when you bring an asham tolu, a suspended asham, which gives you atonement until either somebody at some point in the future tells you, oh, you know, that day when you ate those two pieces, one of the pieces, I know for sure you ate chalif. If that happens, then he has to bring a korban chatas, and then he completes his atonement. Or if he dies in a state of asham tolu, then that gets his kapor as well. But a kohen gadol does not bring an asham tolu. Minola. Tichsi v'chiper alav kohen al shigagoso asher shagag. The kohen will atone for the man for his shogeg. Now, how to interpret that pasuk was a machlokas Rebbe Nechachani. Rebbe Savar, mi shekol cheto bishkoga. That is, who brings it? A person who brings a chatas when he made a mistake in Maisa. You ate something, you didn't know what it was. But there's no psak involved. Yotza zeh. So we exclude a case of a kohen gadol. She'en kol cheto bishkaga. Not every one of his korbanos are brought if he makes a mistake just in a Maisa. Ella behelam dover. We've already learned that, for example, a kohen gadol sometimes will make a mistake in psak and then acts upon it, and then he brings a korban. So it's not kol cheto bishkaga only, because sometimes it's helam dover. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? Midi kol cheto bishkaga? It doesn't say kol. It just says al shigagaso. More says in. Yeah, but the mashmos of the pasuk is the way we're learning, that it's got to be only somebody whose every chatas is brought by a shiggas ma'isa without helam dover. Because imke nichtov al shiggaso lamali, he could have just said al shiggaso lamali asher shogak kamashmalon the adi ikel kol cheto bishkaga. It's got to be only those people where every chatas is brought through a mistake in ma'isa, not psak. Yatsu Mashiach she'en kol cheto bishkaga. But the kohen gadol no. El b'avodah zarah only. Sometimes he will make a mistake in psak not related to avodah zarah. V'lo b'shar mitzvahs ela behelam dover in shigas ma'aser. He paskins that this is not chaylev and he eats the chaylev. That's how Rebbe learns. V'rabbanon, that the kohen gadol as well as avodah zarah brings a korban on helam dover and shegetz ma'aser. Misha cheto bishkaga yatz Mashiach shein cheto bishkaga lo b'avodah zarah v'lo b'shar mitzvahs ela behelam dover shegetz ma'aser. But the kohen gadol will only bring that par helam dover if he makes a mistake in psak as well. Mishnah. Ein bezin chayovin ad sheyoru b'dover shizdono kares v'shiggaso chatas. When does the Beis Din bring a par helam dover shul tzavar? Not if they rule on malchus or something that gives a person a different type of punishment. Only if they rule on something that if you did it b'mezid, you get kares, so you do it b'shogeg, you bring a chatas. Like eating chaylev, sleeping with a nida, eating dam, v'chein Mashiach, kohen gadol. Lo b'avodah zarah sheyir al davar shezdon hakoz v'shigol chatas. Same thing. He only brings the korban for avodah zarah until he makes a mistake in psak. Now, where do we get this? Minola. The Tana Rebbe Yomer. Nemakan aleha. It says a chatas asher chatu aleha. V'nemer lahalon. It says by living with two sisters, isha el achota lo tikach, litzror legalot ervata aleha. So malahalon davar sheston koshik chatas. By sleeping with two sisters, you get koris b'mezid. Avkan, when we talk about the chatas asher chatu aleha, we're talking about davar sheston koris for shikasu chatas. Fine. Ashkechan tzibur. That's if the Beis Din made a mistake. What about Mashiach Minam? What about the Kohen Gadol? It says La'ashmas ha'am. Hare Mashiach Ketzibur. So the Kohen Gadol is treated like the Beis Din. What about the Nasi? How do we know that when the Nasi brings a korban, it has to be for something which b'mezid you get koris? Yoliv mitzvos. They learn a hekesh. Ksiv gabi Nasi. V'asa chas mikol mitzvos Hashem asher lo sa'asena. Uksiv by the Helem Dover Tzibur. V'asu achas mikol mitzvos Hashem asher lo sa'asena. Ma Tzibur, the Chiyav Korban is al Dover Shezdon HaKoros V'Shgosu Chates. Af Nasi, when the Nasi makes a mistake, Dover Shezdon HaKoros V'Shgosu Chates. What about a Yochid? That a Yochid only brings a korban chatas when he b'shogeg does something. The Mezi gives you koris. Omer kra v'im nefesh achas techteh bishkaga me'am ha'aretz. The v'im, the vav achibur, which connects the previous case to the next case. V'ilame tachton me'elyon. This case is learned from what's above. Above we're dealing with donet koris. So here as well, the Yochid is bizdonet koris. Then the Mishnah said, "V'lo b'avodah zarah ad sheyoru b'davar shezdon koris." Even in avodah zarah matter, it has to be something b'mezid you get koris. B'avodah zarah minola the ton rabbanon. The fee avodah zarah lodom b'atzah. Avodah zarah you bring different korbanos. There's a whole parsha about avodah zarah. Yachol yuchayav and afil al davar shein zdon koris b'shikas achatas. I might have thought that when it comes to avodah zarah, maybe you have to bring those korbanos on a mistake, even when there's no kores. So we say no. Nemar kan by being a shoygig avodah zarah me'ene. The nemar lahalon by other averis like chaylev and dam me'ene. Ma lahalon davar shezdon HaKoros v'chates. Over there we're talking about averis like chaylev and dam where you get kores. Afkan davar shezdon HaKoros v'chates. So same thing by avodah zarah. Fine. Ashkechan tzibur. That's the tzibur. B'yachid nasi and Mashiach minola. What about when a private individual or the nasi, the Kohen Gadol? How do we know by avodah zarah by them? Minola. Omer krov v'im nefesh achas. Echad yachid ve'echad nasi ve'echad Mashiach. Kulan b'chlal nefesh achas. They're all in the same parsha. V'ilame tachton min elyon. Same thing. The vav achibur connects the lower cases from the previous case of Paralim Davar Shel Tzibur. Okay. And since the Paralim Davar Shel Tzibur only deals with an Aveira where you get Kores, if you did it b'mezid, say so too by the Yochid, the Nasi, and the Kohen Gadol. Fine. Hanich laman domer demafik la alel gzer shava. So that's good according to the people that learn that gzer shava alea. Kedamon el rabbanon. The mafkile aleha, they learn when you sleep with two sisters that says aleha there, they learn it something else. La arayus v'tzoros. There's a din of when yavama, when you have co-wives. So then davar shezdon HaKoros v'shikachatos minalahu. So according to Chachamim, where do they learn that the aveira has to be something that gives you kores? Minalu. Where do you learn it from? Nafkalu, midamasale Rav Yeshua ben Levi lebrei. They learn it from where Rav Yeshua ben Levi taught his son. It says Torah achas yelachem. You'll have one Torah, la oseh bishkaga, who does it b'shogeg, v'hanefesh asher taseh b'yad ramah, which refers to avodah zarah. Huksha kol Torah kula avodah zarah. All other Averis in the Torah compared to Avodah Zarah. Ma Avodah Zarah, when you bring a Korban Chatas, only on Averis Shechayav and Dona Kares Vasher Gaso Chatas. It has to be something in Avodah Zarah where you be amazed that you get Kares. Afkan by other mitzvahs in the Torah. Cheleb, Dam, Nida, that's Shara Averis. You only bring a Chatas, Chayav and Ashes Dona Kares Vasher Gaso Chatas. Fine. Ashkechon Yachid. That's a private. What about Nasi Mashiach Ben Bavodah Zarah Ben Mishar Mitzvahs? How do you know by How do you know that by Yachid Nasi Mashiach Ben Bavodah Zarah Ben Mishar Mitzvahs that they're all connected to Avodah Zarah? Tzibur Minolon Yolif El Yon Mitachtoin. The prior case is learned from the bottom case. The Rebbe who learned it from Aleha, what does he do with the drush of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Mayovid Lei? Mafik le'lechadetanya. Lefisha matzino shechol hakakosu ben Rabbi le'ichidim. Avodah Zarah is an aveira where it's different whether a public does Avodah Zarah or a yachid does. We have irani dachas. Sharabim, the punishment by if a whole city does it is besayif, you killed with the sword, umamon and oven, and you take their money. But by yechidim is beskila, umamon and polat. They are killed with skila, and the family gets the money. Yachol nachlok bekorbanoseyim. Maybe therefore the korbanos will be different. Talmud lomer Torah achas yalachem. One korban. Maskif la Rav Chilki Magrunya. The Torah didn't separate. Hacholak, if the Torah would have separated, Havamina, Nechlok, maybe the Rabbim would bring a different korban if they did a Peshogeg. However, my Naisi, what would they bring? Naisi par, Tzibur B'shar Mitzvah Sudamaisi. The Beis Din brings a par when they make a mistake by other mitzvahs, not Avodah Zarah mitzvahs, like Chaylev or Dam. Nasi par la'oil of Yisrael l'chatas. Should the Beis Din bring a par and the swords l'chatas, tzibur Avodah Zarah d'maisi? That's the recipe of korban that the Beis Din brings when they make a mistake by Avodah Zarah. Nasi sa'ir. Should they bring a goat? Nasi b'sar mitzvahs hu d'maisi. That's the korban that a nasi brings by other mitzvahs. Naisi seira, female goat, yachid nami hainu korban. That's the private individual's korban when he eats chaylev or dam. Alma loy itzrach, we would not need Torah achas. Salkadai techamina tzibur maisi parla oil of Yisrael chatas. That normally the Beis Din brings a par as an oil and Yisrael chatas, but maybe if the Rabbim commits Avodah Zarah b'shoigeg, hani nas nicely ibcha, maybe par l'chatas for sar l'oila. The par, instead of being brought l'oila, will be brought l'chatas and the sar l'oila. Or inami sorich ve'eno takona. Sometimes you have a case where a certain type of korban has to be brought, but you can't bring it. So kamash malon, that we're not machalek korbanos bein rabim liyichidim by that Indian. Kulam amiyas comes out. Kiksivi hani kroy, all these tzukim in Bamidbar is Bavodah Zarah hu diksivi. They're written by Avodah Zarah. Now my mashma, how do you know that? Amar Rav Avi Tamer Rav Shub ben Levi Varmid Lo Kedi Amar Kro V'chisishku v'lo sasos kol mitzvos ha'ele asher diber Hashem el Moshe. What kind of mitzvahs? The ones that Hashem spoke to Moshe. Ezeu mitzvah sheyesh kula k'chol mitzvahs. Which mitzvahs compared to all mitzvahs? Have you oimer zu Avodah Zarah? Avodah Zarah is shkula keneged kol mitzvahs. Ve'Rabbi Tana Amar Kasher diber Hashem el Moshe uksiv asher tziva Hashem aleichem biyad Moshe. Ezeu mitzvah shehi b'dibur shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One of the Aseret Dibros that was spoken directly, that even Klal Yisrael heard it. That's Anoichi, right? Tzivay de Moshe v'yomer zu avodah zara. The Tanur Rabbi Shmuel, Anoichi v'lo yelecha mipi hagvura shmanu. Torah is Begematria 611 because we received 611 written and 2 we heard. Anoichi and Lo Yelecha, that's 613. So that's how we know that the Chizishku v'lo saso is called Mitzvah Sa'ela Shedi Beresh Moshe is referring to Avodah Zarah. The Rabbi Shmuel Tana from the pasuk Lemin Hayom Asher Tziva Hashem B'Hala Lidorosechem Ezehu Mitzvah Shinemra B'Tchila. That was the first mitzvah taught. Every Yom is Avodah Zarah because it's the first of the Aser Sadibros. V'amar Mar Eser Mitzvahs and Stav Yisrael B'Mara. Before they got to Sinai, they were given 10 mitzvahs in Mara. Before Matan Torah. So you see, Avodah Zarah was not mentioned first. T'chsiv hayam shemot tishma l'kol Hashem lokech v'azat el mitzvayso. Like we were Matar, it's the first that it's the Anoichi from Diber Hashem, Mishnah. Ein chayoven ala seiv alota seisha b'migdash. When the Beis Din makes a psak regarding a case of Tumah in the Beis Hamikdash, there's no paralam davar for that. On an asay or a lota say that's in the Beis Hamikdash by Tumah. For example, the mitzvah asay is something that is tummy, you got to remove it. And if the lota say is that you can't come in if you're tummy. Another rule here is that an asham tolo is brought, we've learned, like when you bring a chatas kavua, like when you eat chaylev or dam, you bring a chatas, but you eat 2 pieces, you eat one of 2 pieces, you don't know which one you ate. But if you've committed an aveira that has to do either an asay or lota say by mikdash, there's no asham tolo brought. Aval chayavin al asay valota say shebenida. A positive commandment or a negative commandment by Nida, which there is kares there you bring a parhalam dover, the Beis Din. Same thing by Nosham Tola. You can bring it for either a positive commandment or a negative commandment. What's a positive commandment? Ezo mitzvah seisha benida. Frosh min anida. So, for example, the mitzvah that you have to separate from your wife who's a nida, you have to separate from her. Mitzvahs losa say al tavola nida. You not have to have relations. That's the negative commandment. So manan emili the tzibur lo machayvi korban ba'alma. How do we know that the Beis Din who makes a mistake psak doesn't bring a parlam davar shel tzibur by some kind of psak they made by tumas migdash? The Yachid Hashem Talui Nami, that a Yachid doesn't bring an Hashem Talui by the low, by Tumas Migdash. Rav Yitzchak bar Abdimi Nemar v'Asham b'chatas, u'v'Asham Talui, v'Nemar v'Ashama b'tzibur. Ma v'Asham b'Yachid is b'chatas kavua. That is a regular chatas, a full-fledged chatas, not a sliding scale chatas. Like if you have money, you bring an animal. If you have less money, you bring birds. If you have less money, you bring a mincha. No, it's a chatas kavua. Af va'ashamo b'tzibor is bechatas kavua. When the Beis Din makes a mistake, it's got to be a mistake in an avera that you bring a regular chatas. Remember, if you don't know that you're tameh and you walk into the Beis Hamikdash and someone says, "Oh, you know, you're tameh. You made a mistake. You came in here." That's called a chatas oile v'yored. It's not a chatas kavua, standard animal chatas. If you have money, you bring an animal. If you have less money, you bring 2 birds. If you have less money, you bring a mincha. Okay. Umat sibur b'chatas kavua af asham tolinami ein bo ala sofik chatas kavua. The sofik that we're talking about, you have 2 pieces of fat. You ate one of them. You don't know what it is. But one of them is chayla, but you bring a chatas kavua if you eat it. If it's something that you wouldn't bring a chatas kavua, there would be no asham tol. Yochi korban olav nami aksiv v'hayaki yasham la'achas me'ela. So it says yesham. Why don't we learn over there the same thing? Done in asham in ashamo Vein done in Asham in Yesham. We can't make that connection. However, the Gemara says, why not? Vatarid Rabbi Shmuel, there's a famous drasha. It says Veshava Kohen Uvoa Kohen. And the Gemara makes a hekesh, even though it's not exactly the same word. Zui Shiva, Zui Bia. We have Exer Shava, even though the words are not exactly correct. So Yesham, Osham, you should learn. Another kasha, Neilif, min v'osham et tumas migdash ukdoshav, from the Averis of tumas migdash ukdoshav d'chsiv. V'hu tamei v'ashem. So Amra Papa, Donin v'ashem, and mitzvahs Hashem, because that's what's written b'Hashem Toli. Min v'ashem u mitzvahs Hashem, which is written by the Korban Tzibur. But by Korban Oil of Yored, it never says mitzvahs Hashem. So we make the hekesh to the based in Korban Tzibur. Armler Rav Simi Barashi Rav Papa. V'neilef v'asham unesias avon min v'asham unesias avon. It says the word v'nasa ovono, both by the Asham Tolui and both by the Asham Kavua. Why not include Asham Tolui? Ela, Amar Achbar Yitzchak Danin, v'asham u'mitzvahs Hashem asher lo aseina, which is by Asham Tolui. And I compare it to the Chatas Kavua where it says v'ashem u'mitzvahs Hashem asher lo taseina. V'yochiach shmias kol ubitus v'sayim. Shmias kol is when, and bitus v'sayim is somebody knows testimony for you, and he swears that he doesn't, and he lied. Bitus v'sayim is where you make some kind of problem with a neder. And Medish Shukdoshav, all of these, what do they have in common? You bring a korban oil of yored. You don't bring a chatas kavua, so those are excluded. And the next Mishnah says, "Ein chayovin al shmias kol ve'al bitus v'sayim ve'al tumas mikdash ukdoshav." These you bring a korban oil of yored for, and the tzibur doesn't bring a korban only for a chatas kavua. V'anasi kayotzu behem. The nasi is also potter from bringing a korban on these items. Div Rabbi Yosef Gli. Rabbi Kiva Omer, hanasi chayav b'kulan, chutz b'shmias hakol. Because hamelech lo yidon v'lo danino, so lo meid v'lo meidno. A melech, who is the nasi, cannot give testimony. So the concept, remember we said that shmias kol is somebody has heard testimony. You want him to come and testify on your behalf, and you make him take a shvuah, and then he lied about it. So then you'd have to bring a korban oil of yored. But a melech is not required. That he cannot make people made against him, or he doesn't give testimony for somebody else. But Rabbi Yossi Aglili says the nasi is included in there. So the question is, Amrola, my time at Rabbi Yossi Aglili. How come he includes the melech? Amra Kra, v'hayaki Hashem la'achas me'ele, kol shmachayv ba'achas mischayv b'kulam. If you chayv even one of them, you chayv in all of them. And he's going to say the melech is chayv in tumas migdash ukdoshav. So they come as a package. Shmias kol bitus v'sayim tumas migdash ukdoshav. Rabbi Yossi Agli, it's all for one. All for one and none for all. If you have one, you have all three. If you're not chayv with one of them, you're not chayv with any of them. I'm sorry, just the opposite. Rabbi Yossi Gluli says that the nasi does not bring korbanos like the bezdin for all of those three. So since the melech cannot be chayiv for shmias kol because he doesn't give testimony because ein dan v'lo danino so v'lo meidno so. So once it's all for one. So since he's potter from the one, he's potter from the other two. That Misha Mischai ba'achas be'en v'afal pisheim Mischai b'kulam. Who says? Maybe you'll be chayv even though you're only potter from one of them. And the time they're basically mehacha. He gives a different reason, and we'll learn that reason tomorrow. Okay. Same thing tomorrow at 6 o'clock.